Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Crash Cinnamon. It's your host McKenna. So just building on the last episode, we talked about looking up and not ignoring the obvious thing that is in front of you, especially where there is propaganda and programming and unlearning certain things in order for you to actually tackle the problem and have a solution and implement the solution. Okay, so sticking with this theme and making change, I actually was thinking, how can you make this change? What do you need to do? What do you need to focus on? Is there one particular thing? Is there techniques? And I thought about when I was doing my undergrad. I did my undergrad in law, and one of the things we were taught, and it was very difficult, was very foreign to me in the sense I had never done it before, was about self-reflection and coming up with a book of, so I did this, how did I achieve this, what were the challenges, and how can I navigate all this. So I actually thought of a toolkit. So those who have tools at home, a toolkit, you'll be familiar with what is in a toolkit. You have your hammer, you have your spanner or wrench, depending on what part of the world you come from. You have your screwdrivers, you have various little things and bolts and screws and different kind of dimensions on the different kind of bits that need to go on, maybe drills and things like that. So there's different compartments for various things as well. And I thought actually in life we don't take time to develop this toolkit, or if we do, we don't revise it and remove the tools that necessarily we don't need for this time. So actually another way I thought about this is for women who have hundreds of bags. Okay, well, we don't have hundreds, but we have a couple of bags, and every so often you change a bag because you want a bigger bag to fit in your laptop, your planner, your whatever it is, or you're going for dinner, so you need a bag that will go with the dress, or all this kind of things. So every time you're always changing, and then you have your work bag basically. My mom used to have that, and it had everything. It had bandages, it had first aid kits there, it had emergency tea bags for when she needed tea. She had a whole blanket folded in there as well. She had lots. There was always sweets, little things in there, as well as her planner, emergency contact. She had always had pens, loads of pens. In fact, she's the one who taught me that as a girl you should always carry a pen, even if you're just going out for dinner with, you just never know. And she was like, you never know who you meet and you need their contacts. And she grew up in the era where you took up someone's contact details directly and actually write them on a piece of paper. So yeah, that's how I grew up. So I want us to think about the toolkit for navigating our society presently in 2022. So we are living in a pandemic situation. So what would we need in our toolkit? There's also a lot of wars and conflict in everywhere you turn, whether it's not in the country or in a neighboring country, or somebody who's involved in some kind of situation where they're not safe in the countries they live in. There is also financial uncertainties. There's lots of things with mental health. Everything is topsy-turvy in the sense of it's not as we knew it. Life is also very fast-paced. But there's also amazing things that are happening. Most people are becoming entrepreneurs, self-employed, depending on whichever you subscribe to. A lot of options are rising for people who are just coming back into the work field after being maybe made redundant for ages, or deciding to take care of a family member or a loved one, then coming back into the workplace. So there's lots of options as well, even for people who are taking care of children, parents who are working as well as staying home with the kids. So beautiful things are happening in terms of changes. Also economically, in terms of even though financially there's inflation and all these things, there's ways and routes that you don't have to stick to the traditional 9-to-5 jobs. There's lots of wonderful avenues now, from content creation, vlogging, YouTube, consultancy jobs, to all kinds, literally. Interior design now is even cool, like things that you wouldn't imagine would be a career maybe, I don't know, 20 years ago, and people would actually live on it. And there are people who are florists, and renowned florists, that you have to book for months and months for to get flowers of a certain kind in a certain season. It's interesting. Yeah. So coming back to the toolkit, I was actually thinking there are very many areas you need to navigate the world, and the first thing is you. So you'll have a compartment in your toolkit that you have the right tools to deal with navigating things about you as a person, and then there's a compartment maybe of how to deal with other people. So maybe you can call it others, or I don't know, whatever terminology you want to use it. Then there's work, then there is family, or whatever is of value to you that you equate to family, because there are those who don't have physically like children or whatever, but they consider close friends as family, or aunties and uncles to be immediate strong family ties. Depends on you. And obviously, what do you do with things like alerts in your life, things that will really are things to be aware of and take caution when they happen. So let's deal with alerts, because I want to be very clear about this. So alerts are things that troubleshoot. You're like, okay, if you see it on your system, red triangles, everything, sirens popping off. So these are like depression, low moods, low self-esteem, anxiety, things like that. When you start noticing those things happening, or you might not be aware that it's happening. So do you have measures, mitigating factors that can help you navigate should those things happen? Okay, so in there, I would suggest you should have strong ties with family or community, so that you can have someone to talk to, understand yourself. So do you have a doctor? Are you registered with a GP? Are you registered with a doctor that you can trust and be able to talk to? Therapy is out there as well. Do you need to have a therapist on hand? Journaling is another good thing. It could be a very good way of dealing with your thoughts, understanding how you're feeling. So it could be a good toolkit to have. A tool in your kit to have. So as you look through the pages, you'll start noticing, okay, actually my mood is changing. I'm feeling a certain type of way. I'm more angry. I'm more anxious, So those are kind of things you need to put tools, patience, grace. And I've been talking about giving yourself grace and a lot of patience to deal with transition. Rest is an important thing as a tool. So remember when at the end of last year, actually it was the last podcast of last year, I talked about don't quit, just sleep, because most of you are not sleeping very well, and you think, that's why you're frustrated and you want to quit on different things, but actually just good rest and then rejuvenate yourself and come back to the task at hand. In the compartment about you can have things like positive thoughts, you can have things like organization, you can have things to deal with yourself, where you have your weaknesses and your strengths. So for example, you can attend courses for different things that you want to improve skills. For example, if there are things you want to tone down on, probably look into that, for example. So how do you think of, when you think of positive thoughts, it sounds very flowery and fluffy, but actually I've come to realize we are so conditioned to think negatively. Even simple things like, I remember when I was driving, I was not driving myself, but a friend was driving and we were going somewhere, and the first thing saying was like, I bet we won't find parking space, or I bet that place was full, I bet it will be the last one. So you're already being negative without saying, I know I will get a space. So you're not even predicting good stuff for yourself. Okay, so those are the things I want you to look at. You map it out. How you deal with others, patience. You need patience there. You need cultural, if you have friends from various parts of the world, maybe you need some cultural awareness, get to learn about them, get to understand where they're coming from, instead of what CNN and Sky and Daily Mail is telling you about the person. So that would be a wonderful tool to have. Maybe you want to learn a language to be able to learn to communicate with somebody, or support somebody else, maybe for example like sign language or things like that. Okay, the workplace, I mean this is gonna differ, especially now that we are working from home. What are the tools that you have? There's the danger, or rather the risk of feeling isolated because you're not in a normal office building. So what are you doing with that? What do you do? Do you take regular breaks? Do you engage in like 5-minute power walks kind of thing? Do you take a walk? If you have pets, do you take them for a walk, so that will reduce the amount of screen time you're having, and also just do different things for yourself, for your mental space. So those are kind of things I wanted us to focus on. You can build your own toolkit, start looking at it, and then please revise every so often, because some of the things you need, it's like that bag. If you're going for dinner, you don't need the work bag, so you need to change over the stuff that you need in the little bag. Now we need even masks, so what make sure you have that, and all kind of things. So look at it more practically, as opposed to thinking it's something so ambiguous or very complicated. It is, and come up with your own toolkit. Come up with a thing that you can always go to, exactly, and keep it somewhere safe, somewhere accessible. If you need to write it down, if you're a creative person, if you need to see it more, or you need charts or diagrams to understand how you would deal with a certain thing, go for it. But the worst thing is not coming up with a plan or a way of dealing with something just because it hasn't happened, or because it has happened a certain way, you think it will happen the same way next time, or you'll use the same strategy. Sometimes it doesn't work, sometimes the same strategy is needed. So all I'm saying is make the necessary changes, be prepared, and also don't fear to borrow someone else's tool for your toolkit if it's important, if it's necessary for you, if it's something that will be useful for you. And that's why we share, iron sharpens iron, and they'll tell you, oh, this worked for me. For example, if it's investment, I use investment ISAs, others these brokers or whatever, they can share with you, and it was like, oh, this works for me, I could do this. So yeah, so that's what I wanted to talk to you about, and hopefully that would be very useful. If I'm looking forward to hear what is in your toolkit. So thank you very much for listening to this episode. See you on the next one.